Hello friends, it's Lisa and welcome to another anticipated releases video. I did one earlier on in the year for the first 4 months of the year, so now it's time to talk about the next 4 months. So we're going to be going over some May, June, July, and August book releases, some summer book releases. Very excited. I feel like this time of year there's not as many books being released as I feel like the beginning of the year and like the fall time. I just feel like the summer is not a big book release time. Maybe that's just me and like the books that I'm interested in, but I don't know. I don't have as many to talk about as I did in like the previous video, but I still have quite a few to talk about. I think I have 11 books that I'm going to be chatting about, and the way I do these videos, at least this year, I pretty much am just like telling you a book title, when it's coming out, general vibes, the genre, kind of just like some general information, and then I will lead you to my Goodreads and my Storygraph, which are linked below with these shelves with these books on it, so you can look more into it if they sound interesting, because to be honest, it would just be, I think, very boring if I just sat here and read the descriptions to you all, especially when you can just go and see for yourself. So yeah, I'm gonna have my Goodreads and Storygraph with my 2024 releases, like those shelves linked below, so you can go and check them out. But I just want to put some books on your radar, some summer releases, and let's just hop right into it. So like I said, we're gonna be starting in May, and I do have my laptop over here that I'm going to be looking at throughout the video. So if I'm looking this direction, that is why. So the first book I want to chat about is A Crane Among Wolves by June Her, and this is coming out May 14th. This author's name sounds familiar, so I'm gonna look at their Goodreads profile. The Silence of Bones, The Forest of Stolen Girls. Definitely heard of those. I think that's why this name sounds familiar. But yeah, I think this is a young adult historical fantasy. So it seems like we're following two different characters in this book. We have a character whose sister ends up becoming the king's latest prey and is taken away. So now this main character is kind of going after her sister, trying to save her. And then we are also following the prince, who is the half brother to the king. And I think he's trying to find a way to dethrone his brother. So I think these two characters, their paths kind of cross, and they probably end up trying to help each other, and it sounds really, really good. I love multi-perspective types of books. I imagine we'll be getting both of these characters' points of view in this book, and I love when we have that and then the characters like come together and work together, and it sounds really good. I haven't read anything else by this author, even though I do recognize some other titles, so I'm excited to check this one out. And how many times are we gonna say that I'm excited in this video? I feel like quite a few. That tends to be my common phrase in these videos. The next book, which is also coming out on May 14th, is The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields. So I believe this is a sapphic romance that has a little bit of magic. I believe we're dealing with witches in this book, which is very fun. So it seems like we're following a main character, Marigold, who is not really interested in getting in a relationship, but her grandmother ends up taking her to this island to train her to become the Honey Witch, which I don't know what that means, but it does say that the Honey Witch does have this curse upon them that they can never find true love. But then we have a character, Lottie, show up, and she doesn't believe in magic, and I think Marigold kind of takes it upon herself to show her magic is real and it's wonderful, and then I think the two of them fall in love. Seems very cute, very wholesome, and I do love a witchy story, so I'm very excited for this one. She said excited. It's just what naturally comes out of my mouth. I'm gonna try not to do it for every book. So that is it for May releases that I'm aware of. Again, like I said, I feel like I don't have that many to talk about in this video. So if there's any releases happening in May, June, July, or August that you know about that I should know about, let me know in the comments. I'm always looking for more new releases, but the first book for June that I have is There Is a Door in This Darkness. This is coming out June 11th, and this is by Kristen Kishore. This does kind of seem a bit of a pivot from what Kristen Kishore has previously written. She is the author of the Graceling series, which I've read some of. I've read the original 3 books, but I still need to read the 4th and 5th books that she released more recently. But I like that series, so I am very interested to read more from her, and also this does seem quite different. This also seems like it's going to be a little too real. Our main character is part of the infamous class of 2020. Her high school years began with the election of Donald Trump and ended with COVID. Oh boy. So obviously this is going to be pulling from real life events, going to be discussing this time period and how confusing it was, especially for someone who just recently graduated and apparently is not going to college because of the pandemic. But she's also dealing with the loss of one of her 3 beloved aunts. So all of that is happening and obviously is pulling from real life events, but it says that she may have found a door in the darkness and perhaps the courage to pass through it if she can decipher the bizarre messages that keep appearing in her life. So I'm very interested to see see how this plays out. Obviously, again, pulling from real life, but it does seem like it has a bit of a magical twist to it. It does have the fantasy genre tag on Goodreads, so very interested to see what this is all about. I, again, feel like this is very different from what Kristen Cashore has written before, so very curious about this one. So next up, I have Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. This is also coming out on June 11th. I definitely do not know what this book is about. I just saw that Ali Hazelwood was coming out with yet another book and just added it to the shelf. I feel like Ali Hazelwood is just like pumping out books left and right. Like, didn't Bride come out earlier this year? I still haven't read that one. I'm kind of scared too, I'm not gonna lie. But that was her kind of like dipping her toes, I feel like, into paranormal romance, and this seems like it's going back to the more like contemporary romance that she has written before. It also says at the very top of the description, the kind of tagline is, "A forbidden secret affair proves that all's fair in love and science." So I think we're gonna be going back to Ali Hazelwood discussing like women in STEM and that kind of field, and having, you know, these characters be into science and everything like the other books that she's written, but I don't think this is a part of the Love Hypothesis series. I think this is different. So it seems like we have a main character, Rue, who is a biotech engineer at Klein, and it's a promising startup in the field of food science. But then we have Eli, who him and his business partners are kind of threatening taking over Klein. They want to own it. That would mean that the business would be kind of crumbling down in Rue's eyes. So it kind of seems like a rivals to lover situation, but I think they end up having this like secret affair, this relationship, no strings attached, and it will end the day that one of their companies will win out. So it seems kind of fun. I'm sure it'll be cheesy, silly, goofy, and probably a bit cringy like all Ali Hazelwood books are, but I'm sure I will have a great time with it. Okay, next, of all of the ones that I've mentioned so far, this is definitely one of my personal, like, most anticipated books of this year, and that is A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. This is coming out June 25th. So Ashley Poston does, again, the kind of contemporary romance books with a little dash of magic, but she does it so well that you're not sitting there thinking about like the logistics of how the magic is working. Like, that's just so not the point, but it just adds such a fun little element to these contemporary romances. It makes it a little bit more unique, and I have really enjoyed the other two she's written. So this one I'm very excited about because I think she like gets set into like a fictional world or something. Let me review the description of this book before I just say things that aren't true. Oh, she feels safe in a book at home. It's me. And she ends up going to an annual book club retreat, but her car ends up breaking down and she finds herself stranded in a little town that seems like it's straight out of a novel, because it is. I think it's like a novel that is literally like from her favorite romance series, but it's come to life. It's such a good idea having her like kind of go into this like alternate reality where she's in the world of this book series that she loves. It also says that it's perfectly frozen, trapped in the late author's last unfinished story. And so she thinks that's why she's there, to kind of help wrap up the story. And then it says that there's a character in this town that she can't place, a grumpy bookstore owner. What else do you need to know? This sounds so good. I cannot wait to read this. I'm sure I'm going to love it just as much as the other two books from her. Next up, I have a short story collection, which is definitely out of my comfort zone. That's not typically something that I'm on the search for, or, you know, I don't really pick up a lot of short story collections, but this one sounds really interesting. It's called The White Guy Dies First, and it's a bunch of authors of color who are contributing stories to this collection. It says 13 scary stories, 13 authors of color, and 13 times we survived the first kill. So I think it's going to be kind of more of a like horror thriller sort of short story collection, which again is also out of my comfort zone, but I think that this is such a fun idea, and there's a lot of authors a part of this that I have read from before that I'm excited to read from more of, and then there's a lot of authors I've never read from before, so I think it'll be fun to taste test some of these other authors I've never read from before. But Adiba Jagadar is part of it, Chloe Gong, Frida Bike-Imede, Kaylin Bayron, Tiffany D. Jackson. Those are the authors that I've read from before, but there are, you know, 13 authors in total, so there's a lot I haven't read from before. So very excited to check this one out. Also, this cover is so cool to me. Also, I don't think I said when this is being released. This is coming out July 16th. Okay, so the next one I'm very intrigued by. It is called Long Live Evil. This is by Sarah Reese Brennan, and this comes out July 30th, and I have read from this author in, actually, again, short story collections, the Shadowhunter short stories that Cassandra Clare puts out. Some of them are written by other authors, and this author has been a part of some of those short story collections. But that's, I think, all I've read from this author before. I don't think I've read any of their own novels, but the concept of this book I think could either be super, super fun or it could be really cheesy. I don't know. I feel like this could be executed really well or really poorly. But the first little paragraph of this description, I will read this one out because I think this is like what got me intrigued by this whole book. It says, when her whole life collapsed, Ray still had books. Dying, she seizes a second chance at living, a magical bargain that lets her enter the world of her favorite fantasy series. So she ends up waking up in the fantasy world of this fantasy series that she has read. This kingdom is at the brink of the war, and she has woken up not the hero in this story, but as the villain. And this is where I'm like, this could be either really cheesy and not done well, or I don't know, but like the concept makes it sound like it could be good. It says, so be it. The wicked are better dressed with better one-liners, even if they're doomed to bad endings. So I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be incredibly cheesy and stupid or it's going to be really fun. Just the idea of going to your favorite fantasy world where you probably, if you've, inserted yourself into that world before, you probably see yourself as like friends with all the great characters you read about and being besties with the heroes of the story. But to enter that world and actually be the villain is such an interesting concept. But also this kind of reminds me of a novel love story where these characters are entering these fictional worlds that they've read about, but obviously like this is taking that kind of idea in very different directions. So I think that that's really fun. I see Holly Black and Lee Bardugo have blurbed it, and it says, expect a rogue's gallery of villains, including an axe-wielding maid, a shining knight with dark moods, a homicidal bodyguard, and a playboy spy master with a golden heart and a filthy reputation. This sounds like it could be so good. Or really not done well. I don't know. I feel like this could go either way, but I'm so interested by the concept of this book, so I will definitely be checking this out. Okay, next up we have The Fiance Dilemma. This is by Ellen Armis, and this is coming out July 30th. This is the kind of companion sequel to The Long Game, which is the contemporary romance that she released last year. And I enjoyed it. I definitely didn't love it, but I liked it more than The American Roommate Experiment, so that felt like a win. And I feel like this one has potential to be even better than The Long Game because this has one of my favorite tropes, which is a fake dating situation. I think there's actually a fake engagement, so we're taking it up a level and I'm excited about it. And we're actually following characters that we got introduced to in the first book. We're following Josie and Matthew. Josie is a character that the main character meets in the town that she goes to in the first book, and Matthew is her best friend. And it just, I don't know, I'm excited to learn more about these characters. But Josie has had kind of a complicated romantic history. It says that she's had 4 failed engagements prior to this, and through certain circumstances that feel kind of like a spoiler for the first book, so I don't want to say too much, but she ends up getting in a bit of a complicated PR issue due to her family and her connections. And then we have Matthew, who seems like his life is not in a good place right now. He's recently lost his job and he's trying to go and crash in this town that his best friend, the main character from the first book, lives in. So he kind of goes there to stay for a while, get his life in order, but then he runs into Josie and is introduced as her fiance. But then it says what starts as a big messy misunderstanding quickly turns into an arrangement with Matthew playing a new role as doting fiance. And I just think that's so fun. I love fake dating, fake marriage, fake engagement, whatever it is. I love that trope so much. I know that Ellen Armis, her first book, The Spanish Love Deception, it gets described as fake dating, and it is, but for a very, very, very small portion of that book. What the description of that book is so misleading. So I'm actually very excited to see her take on fake dating, fake engagement, etc., like that kind of trope again, because I would like to see it more, like play a bigger role in the book and actually have it be the trope that the book has. So I'm very excited for this one, of course, as I've said many times. And I feel like I might like this one even more than The Long Game. I liked The Long Game, but this one I feel like is more up my alley. So I'm very excited. So the next book, I'm very excited about this one because I feel like I've been hearing about this book for quite some time, and that is This Ravenous Fate by Haley Dennings. This is coming out August 6th. And the reason I've been hearing about this book for so long is because Haley is a booktuber, or she was I don't know if she's really posting anymore, but she has kind of documented her writing process and journey and has been talking about this book online, whether that's in her YouTube videos or like on Twitter and Instagram, for so long that it has been really fun to follow this journey to her being published. It's so exciting and I just cannot wait to read it. And this is about like sapphic vampires who are enemies, and I believe it's set in the 20s. Yeah, 1926. These two characters have had a history. They used to be friends, but now they are enemies, and I think now have to work together again. I think it's kind of compared to These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, so kind of that sort of vibe. Because yeah, it says that there's a bunch of mysterious and brutal killings. One of the characters, Layla, is framed for one of these attacks, and so then Elise, the other character, I think they are tasked with like investigating together and figuring out what's happening. And I'm so excited. It sounds so good. I've just, again, have heard so much about this book just from following Haley, so I'm very intrigued, very excited, and also just like so excited for her that this book is being published and it's coming out so soon. It's just all very exciting. And on the same kind of page, more vampires. I think vampires, they're really having a comeback. They're really having a moment. I have the Mistress of Lies by K.M. Enright. This is coming out August 13th. But this is one of those books that like, I heard someone talk about it and I was like, that sounds interesting. And now I have no idea what it's about because I just added it to my shelf and didn't really look into it. So this is why I leave the books linked below so you all can go and investigate on your own, because I am not very good at describing books. But we have Shan, who has blood magic and is the daughter of a powerful but disgraced blood worker. I'm assuming that means that that's someone that uses blood magic. She ends up assassinating her own father to protect her brother, and she takes place as like the head of their family. And then we have Samuel, like my cat. He ends up stumbling upon the first victim of a magical serial killer, and so now he's drawn into this world of magic. So I think him, Shan, and a mysterious royal blood worker, Isaac, I think find themselves trying to figure out what is going on, trying to solve this mystery of this serial killer, and they end up growing closer to one another. But it sounds really interesting. And again, vampires. I'm very excited that vampires are kind of making a comeback. I think it's going to be fun. So very intrigued by this one. Also, this cover is very cool. Okay, now we have the final book that I'm going to be chatting about in this video. We have the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, which is just the cutest, most wholesome name for a book. This is by Lori Gilmore, and this is coming out August 29th. So this is the second book in the Dream Harbor series. The first book was The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, which I read and I thought it was fun. It is not the most groundbreaking romance book. Yes, it's a bit insta-lovey. Yes, it's a bit cheesy, but it was just such a cozy read that I had a good time with it, that I'd be willing to continue on with the series. I also think the title of this book has changed so many times, so I'm saying the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, but that could change by August again. I feel like it's gone through so many names. And obviously, as the author's name would suggest, it is a pen name because I think she wants you to feel the Gilmore Girls kind of vibes when you read this book. And I definitely do see the small town cozy vibes with this series. And I think each book in the series is going to be following like a different business that one of these characters runs. So this one we're obviously going to be focusing on the bookstore. And we have Hazel, who runs the bookstore, and these mysterious messages start popping up, and it's like secret codes within the pages, and she needs help trying to figure out like what they mean and like going on the trail that they're leading her to. So we have gorgeous and outgoing fisherman Noah, who is always up for an adventure. He kind of tags along to help her out. And he has had like a crush on her for months. We even saw them in the first book, and you kind of get that dynamic in the first book. You definitely can see that he has liked her for a long time. So it sounds like it's going to be very wholesome, very cute. I'm very excited for it. I think it'll be just like a nice, cozy fall read. But that is it. Those are all of the book releases in May, June, July, and August that I am aware of and are on my radar. Obviously, there are so many more that I just don't know of. And also, I feel like every time I film one of these anticipated releases videos, as I'm editing, I realize that I've missed multiple books that I was excited about. So I'm sure that there are so many that I don't know about. So again, if you know of some that I did not mention, I would love to hear about them in the comments. I'm always looking for more book releases. Not that my TBR needs to be any longer, but it is exciting to know about some new releases, some new authors as well. And it's just fun. And like I said, there's obviously some that I've missed. So it would be a good reminder to get your comments about some books you're excited about that are coming out this summer. But yeah, I think that that is going to be it for my anticipated releases for summer of 2024. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.